Hello everyone and welcome to Medford Anywhere Learning TV. We're glad you're tuned in. We want to give a shout out to our friends at Southern Oregon PBS, KTVL, KDRV, and the Dove Network. Thank you for hosting us on your station. In the Medford School District, we have one shared vision, and that we believe that all are learning, and learning is for all. And what better place to do that than right here on Medford Anywhere Learning TV.
Hi, I'm Erik Horton, 6th grade teacher at Abraham Lincoln Elementary, and today we're going to dive into biology and look at an organism called a squid. Not only are we going to look at it, but we're going to look inside the squid. So we're going to be dissecting this squid that I locally picked up at a grocery store called Food for Less. You have an opportunity to go down to Food for Less if you want and pick out a squid for your own dissection that you could do alongside of this video. Now, I'm going to give you some basic facts about a squid before we get too started. I happen to love squid. They're a really interesting creature. A squid is an ocean creature that freely swims around in the ocean, and it's related to an octopus and a mollusk. They're all cephalopods. Now, a common question would be, is a squid a fish? And the answer is no. Cephalopods are not fish. They're in a whole different order from fish, but they do freely swim just like fish. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of two squid right now over on my plate, and we're going to inspect the outer parts of the squid before we even dive in. Now, you notice I got two right here, and I've got them showing one on what we're going to call the top right here. Whoops. And we've got one on what I'm going to call the bottom or the back side. Now, you can tell right away that through this image, this one is a little bit darker, and this one is a little bit lighter. This is a natural thing that a lot of creatures in the sea have developed to help them survive. This is called countershading, and that's when the top part is a different color than the bottom part. So one of them is camouflaging for things that are looking down, and the other part of the organism is camouflage for things that are looking up at it. So awesome natural defense. Now, looking back over here at the squid, some other parts we're going to look at is the squid swims with this direction. So it swims with the pointed part of its head here going first, and it's got these two kite-like fins you can see that branch out. And those fins kind of work like wings on an airplane and help it guide in the directions and turn and tilt and move through the water. This big here major part of the body is actually technically its head, and it's referred to as the mantle. And this is the main outer portion. As we continue down, you'll see that it's not specifically connected or sealed here. There's actually openings here to where I could like put my finger up inside the squid right away. Now, so that means when this squid is swimming around in the water, water can get up inside of that mantle and flush stuff all around. It's very different than like a closed organism. It's got those open passageways. And one of the things that open passageway allows is for this piece right here. And I'm going to try to open it up a little bit and see if we can see it. And if you see really close in between my fingers, you can see a little hole or a black looking spot open up. And what's going on here is there is a siphon that this squid has. And the way that the siphon works is the squid will suck water into its body through one part of the siphon and then shoot it out through that hole, almost like it's a jet engine. And this thing will fly through the water with that in like little pulses. It'll like breathe in, just like we breathe in, and then push it out through that siphon. Except for instead of breathing air, it's breathing in water and pushing it out. When it pushes water out through that siphon, you can even see on video like a ripple effect on the bottom of the squid, which is really cool that it moves like that. In fact, here's a little piece of trivia for you. Did you know that squid are one of the few creatures that can fly? Now, they can't fly like a bird flies through the air. They fly a lot more like a rocket with that jet engine. There's quite a few squid that can get up to the surface and shoot using that siphon and fly out of the water. They've been seen to fly at least 3 meters, which is roughly 9 feet out of the water. That's incredible. That'd be like shooting up out of the water and almost touching the rim on a basketball hoop. That's pretty amazing for something that's underwater. So now looking back at this squid, we've seen the siphon there, and we move down. It's got eyes on both sides of the head. Now the eyes of the squid are really similar to the human eye in the sense that inside it's got this lens that helps it focus and see underwater. It's got one of the most advanced eyes of all creatures underwater. And unlike our eye, though, it doesn't have an eyelid that's like blinking shut all the time. It's always open like this, but it is protected by like a layer of mucus instead, or this thin skin. So if you investigate this here, this eye, it's a little cloudy here in the middle because there's fluid there. But behind that, it's kind of got an iridescent shine to it, a very reflective looking eye. And I'm going to spread out the tentacles here. Now, something that is unique about squid compared to the octopus is squid have the 8 tentacles, just like the octopus, that have the suction cups on the arms, but they also have these 2 other tentacles that are significantly longer than the other 8. These longer tentacles don't have suction cups on them until you get down to the very, very end. Pretty interesting. Squid is a delicacy. Now you can find squid, this delicacy, in a restaurant under the name calamari, which is Latin for actually means pen tip, or it's like an ink term, the Italian word for calamari. And that's because, like an octopus, this creature has a self-defense mechanism inside where it's able to shoot out a little bit of ink to create a distraction or a way to get away from a predator. So we're looking at this inside, checking out our tentacles. The parts you would eat would be the tentacles here and then this mantle part, all right? If this is something you want to do, you want to make sure it's really clean. And at the end, I'll show you how to do that. But I think we are ready to dive inside this. So some tools you're going to need. I got me some scissors from my home kitchen, all right? I will wash them very well before I use them again. And I've got some tweezers. Metal tweezers I find work best. And so I pulled these out of the makeup drawer from my wife, and she'll probably find out and be pretty upset. But I promise I'll use some bleach right before I give it back to her and make sure there's no smell. So we're going to dive right in. And anytime you dissect something like this, the first thing you do is you kind of feel it and you're like, oh, this is gross. It's slimy. It's touching me. But you just kind of got to get comfortable. And I'm going to get comfortable with this, feel around in my hands without being too rough, because I don't want to damage any of the stuff on the inside. Once I'm feeling comfortable, I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to look at the bottom area here. Now, this is really, it's a great camera shot you're getting of the mouth down here. Now, inside this mouth area, you can see that there's something black inside there. And this is actually the beak of the squid. This beak is a lot like a bird beak. It's got a top and bottom jaw that come together into a pinch. And I'm going to kind of squeeze this area a little so it protrudes. And I'm going to use my tweezers to open up the mouth here and see if I can grab hold of that beak. Okay, I've got it. And I've pulled out. Oh, this is great. You can see that really good. See the dark kind of V shape? That is the part of the beak that comes to a point. And then there's kind of a clear cartilage part that connects it. Now, as I said, this comes together, and right now I only have half of it. So I've got to get the other half out. I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, easy does it. And I've got both pieces now. Both pieces of that beak are out of the way, and that allows me to really open up the mouth here. So using my tweezers, I can kind of like dig or cut in a little bit. And this is why the metal ones work really well. And now that the black is gone, there's kind of like a white bulbous like shape in there. And I'm going to go ahead and push in there on both sides and see if I can grab this without tearing it. A technique that I use is on the side here. I'm pushing a little with my thumbs to expand out that mouth region and let that white object pop out. Now it's kind of coming apart here, but oh, we got it. We got it. All right. And as I pull this out, this piece right here is the brain of the squid. All right. So see this white spot that's coming out? This is the brain, and there's a string attached to it. Well, just like us, our brain is attached to nerves. And this is the nerve. Oh, I got a good pull there. This is the nerve of the squid. And as I lay it out on my hand, you can see how long that nerve cord is. It goes all the way down into past all the organs and to the tip of the squid. And that nerve allows the squid to feel temperature of water change, feel pressure change from depth. That nerve lets it feel pressure if there's any type of predator trying to get at it or things touching it, just like how our nerves work. Two of the things that scientists study on the squid, one is that eyeball, and the second is that nerve string. Pretty cool that we're able to get in there and pull that out so easily. So now I've kind of worked in there and got it out, and there's a little bit of extra residue there. And I'm actually able to pull out the whole ring of the mouth there. Now, if I look in that camera, there's a really big hole, and I'll show you, like, I can really stick my tweezers in that hole there. Another way to do this, I'm going to show on the counterpart here. And this is the way I would do it if you were preparing food. I can actually just come in here with scissors, and I'm just going to cut the bottom off there. Now, what this does, unfortunately, that cuts the nerve cord, but it quite easily makes it so I can extract the brain more intact. So if I wanted to study the brain instead of the nervous system, I could cut it like that and see how this one here is kind of torn and smashed. This one is not. It's intact, and it's kind of like marble sized, and I can feel some density there or hardness in it. So what we've done here is we've taken the squid and we've inspected the outside. We found countershading. We found fins to help it direct itself. We found 8 tentacles and then 2 extra longer tentacles. There's suction cups on there. We're able to open it up and find the beak. We're able to pull the brain out and find the nerve that's attached to it. And we inspected the eyeball. And we did all of that without getting inside yet. The next step is to get inside of the squid. All right, so now it's time to look inside the squid. And probably is not going to happen, but just in case, I don't want anything to fly and hit me in the eye or something and I lose my contact. That makes a whole different video, although it does sound pretty funny. I don't wish that on anyone. So I got my science specs here. I'm going to put those on just for some protection. It's a great idea. And let's dive right into this guy. Sorry for the ocean pun there with diving in, but you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. So like I said, you want to look at the bottom, which is the lighter colored side. And I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors here and put them inside and make sure that there's some spacing there. And I'm just going to cut all the way down to the tip. All right. Now, there's quite a few organs in this that are so small that we're not going to be able to even see them inside. But we do have a pretty good look at several things in here. First thing I want to point out, we talked about that ink, the ability to have the ink. Well, right here, I'm going to move this piece out of the way. You can see a shiny, once again, I'm going to use that word, iridescent or metallic looking object. And that is the ink sac right here. Now, if I'm not gentle when I first get into this, I can puncture that or rupture it, and there will be ink all over inside here, which will make a lot of your task very, very, very difficult. So when you're feeling it around and you're getting comfortable with it, be wary that if you squeeze it too hard or you like really jab in there with your scissors, you could damage some of what we're trying to look at. All right, so going back in here, one organ that we are not going to be able to see is the heart. Now, squid, little trivia for you, actually have 3 hearts. They have one heart that is like a systemic heart that operates their entire body, and then each gill has its own heart. Now, the gills, or like the lungs, are over here on the side, and they attach to the mantle, but with a little help, I can kind of separate them. Now, this guy, honestly, doesn't have very good looking gills or lungs. They're usually feathery and attached to that side. Maybe when we look at the other guy, we'll see a better image of it. Now, you can see a little discoloration down here in the middle area. And this discoloration is, you're looking at the liver, is right about here. And as I come down further down the end, most of this white area is the reproductive organs of the squid. Now, if you think about what is important for getting something, for keeping something alive and to continue the species, it's got to be able to find food, it's got to be able to survive predators, and it's got to reproduce. So here our squid has an ink sac to avoid predators. And another feature squid can do is, a lot like their friends, the octopus, they can change their color on the outside to camouflage. So I can change my color and I've got my ink sac. Also, they're great hunters, and that helps them find food, like fantastic hunters. And then with so much of their body dedicated to reproduction, they can produce quite a few offspring when they do reproduce. Before I get into some of the more structure of the squid, I'll give you a little bit of trivia on some of the other varieties of squid. Now, obviously, this one is not very big, barely the size of my hand. However, we have video footage of some giant squid that are enormous. We're talking about the size of a car. And some of the squid we've discovered washed up on beaches have been measured as large as 4 stories, 40 feet in length from the end of the tentacles and the arms to the very tip. 40 feet. Can you imagine coming across that in the water? Be terrifying. I've also read an article about some underwater cameras. However, I couldn't find the video where they were able to catch squid using jellyfish as a weapon. So they can understand the jellyfish sting, and they like to eat jellyfish, but also using that jellyfish to numb or defend itself from other predators. That's an incredibly intelligent animal. All right, so I'm going to dive back in, and I'm really hoping that this second squid we have here gives us a different look inside, maybe one male, one female. So I'm going to, same thing, go to the lighter side, and I'm going to cut into this, really hoping that we see something different. It's slimy. It's sliding around on here. It wants to get away. Yes! Totally different here. All right. So here you've got, on one side, down here at the tip, you have a very clear, kind of murky, and then this is way more milky on this side. Totally different. All right, so we've got this great side-by-side comparison of a male and female squid. Which one do you think is which? Well, if you guessed that this was the male squid, you are correct, which leaves this to be the female squid. Notice it's got different organs here than we've got over here. And this is really something that you have to feel to understand. This has like some structure or strength to it, where there's way more squishiness going on here. Like you can like really pinch it and feel it. All right, so we've identified the difference between the male and the female squid, which is really cool that we were able to get inside of there and take a look so quickly and easily. And we got super lucky that we got one of each so we could see the differences between them. Now I'm going to go back inside and we're going to look at the female one and see if we can get a better image of what those feather-like gills look like. Awesome. And this is what's so cool about having two, because we've got different products out of both of them. This one, the female over here, the ink sac is a little bit damaged, and there's some black spots you can see here and there where there's some possible ink or maybe even some debris that got caught in there. But we got a really good feathery gill here. All right, so this gill or lung sac here, I'm trying to separate it from the body a little. And it breaks. Awesome. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my scissors to cut this, and I'm going to put it in the palm of my hand so we can kind of look here. And now some of that black stuff hung on here, but this is pretty amazing. This organ has its own heart to control it. That's just phenomenal. This creature has 3 hearts. All right, so we've kind of looked at that, and I wanted to show you something about these ink sacs that's pretty cool. Now, if I can get in here and separate this, okay, kind of cut it free. See if I can get it without rupturing it. Come on, buddy, it's almost there. Awesome. All right, so you can see I've got this ink sac in my hand now, and it's kind of like worm looking, and it's pretty long. Now, as I smashed it, there's a little bit of a break there, and now you can start to see black on my hand. That's because this is actually ink. If I took a pin tip and I poked into the main part of this and got some of that ink on my tweezers or a tip, I could actually write my name on a piece of paper with this. Now imagine how much ink you could get out of a large squid. So that's another pretty cool thing going on site here that you're not going to find in very many other animals. All right, so I'm going to clean up my hands a little and let you know some other anecdotal stories about squids that are pretty cool. They're so intelligent that researchers have found that a captive squid can actually use their arms and tentacles to unscrew jars and get out of captivity. That's pretty amazing. They have found them where they would put them in one tank and then come back days later, and the squid has moved itself to another tank and ate a fish that was in that other tank, which is just like, how do you control these things? Pretty awesome. The last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to clean up this squid in case you would like to make some calamari for your family. So you get a little science, you get a little of that biology, you get a little trivia, and you get some cool stories, and then you also get a little cooking here. All right, so I'm going to zoom back here to this, and I'm not going to be as nice to this because we looked at what we wanted. Now, this is pretty interesting here. I can just separate all of this that quickly. Now I've just taken all that off, and I've got this kite-like mantle. And then when that came off, this other last piece came free. Now this one broke in half, but this is really cool. This is called the shell, and this is kind of like our spinal cord, or sorry, not spinal cord, spinal column. This protects that nerve and the organs. Now, it's not as hard as our bones are, and it's not as prevalent as our bone system, because this squid needs to have the ability to like be pushed on from the pressure being underwater and move through different cracks and crevices to hide and protect itself. So it has something there to protect the organs, but it's not as solid as our bone structure. All right, so I'm coming back into this, and then I highly suggest taking this, and you can actually separate the fins and the skin here on it from the mantle pretty easily. And now I have got this beautiful kite-like mantle. Now I still want to wash this, and I got a little discolored piece here. I would probably trim this off just because I'm not sure exactly why that's there, whether it's some type of abnormality in that specific squid. But when dealing with the unknown, I probably don't want to eat it. You could look it up if you were curious. Now I'm going to do the same to this one and separate it. And I'm going to take the pen out. Now I could actually use this shell or this pen to poke into that ink. Notice it's kind of like a pen shape. And I could poke into that ink and try to write something. Oh, see that? I was able to make that mark from the ink with my pen. That's pretty awesome. So then, same thing. I can take off my fins here and my outer skin. Oh, this one doesn't want to give as much. And boom, I've got another clean mantle. Okay. Oh, it's sticking. All right. Now, of course, before you want to eat this, you're going to clean it really good. You're going to wash it. And then you could take like your scissors and you could cut strips with it. What I highly suggest then is taking it and putting a little egg on it, as long as you're not, don't have any allergies to the egg or any of the other things I'm listing. And then I like to make mine spicy. So I'll take a little bit of flour, maybe some breadcrumbs, some cayenne pepper, maybe some Cajun seasoning. I'll kind of mix up the floury substance and then get the egg on the squid, dip it in it so it's all coated. I'll take some oil and heat it up to a good 350 degrees or so and throw the calamari in there, or the squid, and it becomes the calamari then. It becomes my little treat. It will naturally kind of roll up or coil up in the pan when you're cooking it. Cook it until the breading starts to get looking a little crisp or a little brown. You can cook it to your liking. Some people like it a little more crunchy than others. And then pull it out, let it cool off before you put that in your mouth, and then enjoy. Another great little trick is making a sauce. Some people like tartar sauces. Preferably for me, I'll take a little dill, a little lemon, a little mayonnaise, and a little ketchup, and I'll mix that up, and it makes a fantastic little treat to dip this in. So you learn a little science, you do a little cooking, and you learn about this world we live in, this world with squid and octopus and birds and deer and rabbits and humans, and we're all surviving on the same planet. Some of us have things in common, and there's things that are different about us. I don't have an ink sac in me. I don't have 3 hearts, but I do have a nerve cord that goes down my spine, and it is protected just like the squid protects its. So we've dissected a squid. It wasn't that hard. It's a little gross, but once you get into it, I mean, it's like anything else. You get relaxed, you get comfortable, and you can learn a lot from stuff like this. Highly suggest cooking it. Don't waste it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching Medford Anywhere Learning TV. This has been Erik Horton, Abraham Lincoln. You guys rock. I miss you. Hedrick, I miss you guys. I miss basketball. Can't wait to see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for tuning in to Medford Anywhere Learning TV. Medford School District is a place where all are learning, and learning is for all.
You guys make me jump for joy. Happy Teachers Week.
Gracias, señora Bebé, por ayudarme a hablar español. Tú eres muy increíble. Adiós.
I'm at the school picking up my stuff. I want to wish all the teachers a happy Teachers Day at 2020 quarantine.
Miss Hopkins, you are the best teacher ever. Heart you rainbow, because you're a rainbow.
Hi, Mrs. LaBelle. Hi, Mrs. Southmaid. I love when you read stories to us, and I like when you give us hugs. Happy Appreciation Week. I miss you. Bye.
I'm Mr. Gurtel and all the other teachers at Griffin Creek, and thank you for all you do.